Traditional mental health is kind of like waiting for your car engine to explode. It's reactive, it's meant to clean up car accidents. It's not meant to optimize performance. So if you think about F1 cars, it has nothing to do with that. So if you have big goals or aspirations in your life, if you have a direction that you want to go in your life, then I'll make the case that there is probably no better use of your time and your energy than on building what I sometimes call a Lamborghini mind. And there's really no better time to do this. For the first time in history, we finally have the technology capable of helping us to build that Lamborghini mind very quickly, very accurately. And that's what I'm building right now. So first off, why should you listen to me about this? Well, that's a good question. I'm a physician by training. I did my medical school training at Stanford. And while I was at Stanford, I also went to the graduate program for data science and AI. And so I understand about the medical side of things, the traditional view of psychiatry. And I also understand tech. I've built tech products before, and I've served as the head of AI for several tech companies. And so I understand that side. Now, I've lived in several parts of the world, and in both Silicon Valley, where I was at Stanford, and in London, and now in Dubai, where I live now, I've come across some people who are extraordinarily successful, both in terms of money, but also in terms of their skill sets and what they've been able to achieve in life. People that have incredible sums of money. And I've always been fascinated about the mind and been tuned in to how the mind works. I think it's safe to say that it's something that occupies almost all of my time, all of the real estate in my mind. And what I've noticed is something that is, well, blown my mind, no pun intended. It's noticing the difference between a billionaire mind and the average mind, and the difference between those two. And I think it's so important to understand the vastness of the difference between those two as point number one. But then as point number two, that bridging the gap, it's not up to luck and up to chance. Some things you're born with, but a lot of it is actually learnable. And so that's what's grabbed my attention, and that's motivating me to build the tech to bridge that gap from normal mind, Honda Civic mind, to a Lamborghini mind. And as I said earlier, this is the best time to do it, hands down. We're gonna see the most exciting things happening in the next few years. Before this, if you wanted to have an elite mind, you needed to know people, you needed to hire coaches, you needed to have the resources to surround yourself with the best minds. You needed to deeply understand this yourself and do a lot of reading and studying, but it was manual and it was hard and expensive. Now we are entering a world where that's no longer the reality. We'll be able to do this, and everybody will be able to do this at relatively low cost. The first thing I want to talk about is mental health. What it is and what it isn't. Mental health is for those whose minds are like car accidents. They can't even function anymore in regular society. That's horrible, and it's a real problem. And mental health or mental illness, the treatment, it needs to be there. But we got to be very clear that trying to improve your mental health is not going to get most people where they want to go. If where you want to go is from dysfunctional to you can hold down a job and you can live your life, or live like some semblance of a life without breaking apart, then great, that's for you. Go to the car mechanic, get yourself fixed up. But if what you want is to go from average or mediocre or wherever you are in life and you want to reach for the stars, that's a completely different ballpark. You need an F1 pit crew, not your local village car mechanic. The second point I want to make is that the mind is the highest ROI activity you could possibly do. Improving the mind is the highest ROI activity you could possibly do. And why is that? Well, the difference in the mind of mind shifts and clearing away the crap that most of us are carrying around. These awful programs. Have you ever opened up your computer and all of a sudden you just get all these pop-ups and like apps are just running all over the place, and all of a sudden your computer just goes to an absolute crawl and you can't do anything on it. I mean, it's just infested with all sorts of awful things. And that's how most people are operating. Again, most people. This isn't like the fringe I think this is the biggest problem, is that people don't realize how dire the problem really is. And we're at a disadvantage here because you can see your body, right? You can see what's going on. You can't see your mind. Let me illustrate it with something that I thought about the other day, which is, imagine you live in a world where nobody can see. Like, the sense of sight is not a thing. People just don't see. How many people do you think are going to care about the way that their hair looks, or the health of their skin, or wrinkles? Like, these things aren't going to matter as much. They just aren't. And it's not until somebody starts seeing these things that they become prioritized. Well, that's what our mind is like. The reason why we have stigma with mental health is it's like some people, if you were to make their mind into their body, they would be like obese, and they'd have their hair falling out and their skin would look awful, and they'd have, pock marks all over their face. I mean, they just look like very sick. If you need mental health help with a therapist or a psychiatrist and your mind is really in trouble, that's why you have this taboo and so much pushback with this, because it's like an admittance of saying, yeah, okay, guilty, my mind looks terrible. And everybody knows it. And so then you have taboo around it. It's rough, but it's a totally different ball game to have somebody say, actually, my mind's functioning okay. Could be better, but it's okay. I want to bridge that gap, and I want to achieve everything that I want to achieve. And again, that gap is like, it's insane. And I've seen this with people I've interacted with. And it is the difference between struggling day to day and having everything you could possibly want. You don't even know what to do with all the money you have. And you have so many connections that you ring up whoever you want and like, done. Plain, whatever, founder of whatever big tech company, like, the world is yours. The world is your oyster. The difference in quality of life is so big, and that's why I care about talking about this and building something that can actually bridge that gap. So why haven't we gotten there before? And why are we kind of stuck in this area? One, as I mentioned, is that we can't see the mind. It's not something that's intuitive for a lot of people to grasp. Now, you talk to people who are in the upper echelons of society, and I have, especially as I've been thinking about this more and more and building a product for it, and they get it. They understand on a deep, intuitive level how important their mind is. I have to do very little explaining when it comes to this idea, when it comes to the product. They get it because they experienced that shift. And I think ROI, it is the greatest thing that you can focus on, and it's the thing that these people value and treasure the most and are least willing to compromise on. So the difference here, I would say, that we need to figure out and that I'm working on is instrumentation of the mind. Okay, so we all remember at some point when Whoop came out, and all of a sudden you don't just have your body that you can look at and gauge how healthy you are, but now you've got something that can create a dashboard, and now you've got another way to view your body, and you've got metrics like HRV that aren't readily available physically. The mind doesn't have that, at least not yet. Creating a dashboard for the mind is what I'm currently working on. Whoop didn't invent fitness. It made fitness visible, measurable, trackable. The mind is the last major system and the most important system that still doesn't have that kind of visibility. The product that I'm building is called Mindware. It's not about numbing yourself or avoiding discomfort. It's about taking concrete changes and downloading them into your mind and changing how your mind operates. It's about taking core psychological capacities that are critical for success, like attention, focus, and resilience, and understanding exactly what needs to happen, what the user needs to experience in order to increase those capacities. And likewise, each of us has a sort of software or mindware that we're running in our minds, constituted by beliefs. A big part of it is the beliefs that we hold. And we've probably all heard of limiting beliefs. Those are the things that really hold you back. And it's totally true. It's sort of like when you see a fly hit up itself against the side of the window, not understanding that the window is a solid thing. It can't internalize the belief that what it hit against is solid. It keeps thinking that there's a way to get through it. And we're very much the same way. If we have an internal belief that is limiting, most of us just keep smashing against the wall over and over and over again. We go through the same relationships and the same traps. We keep falling for the same people and we loop ourselves. And the tragedy of it is that it takes years for people to even start to recognize that they've been hitting up against the same damn wall. It takes a long time. And before you know it, life's over. You don't have a lot of time to figure this out. Most of the people that do end up figuring this out, it doesn't happen until middle age. And that's if you're lucky. You get 40, 50, 60-year-olds that start to pick up on it and good things start happening to them and they start to understand life and they've got a measure of wisdom to them. But it doesn't have to be this way. We can leverage AI to map out these psychological capacities, to map out what our beliefs are. So Mindware is about sharpening attention. It's about increasing focus. It's about increasing resilience. And it's doing so in a way that is AI and tech grounded. And so this isn't guesswork. This is very precise. And it's able to measure and track the core psychological components. The end result is not only that your capacities increase and your belief systems become secure, but now you are far less manipulatable and you're able to see clearly and you're able to move in ways in life that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to. If you're a Mindware vehicle, most of the products out there are only there to help after the wreck. But with Mindware, you don't have to ever get into the wreck in the first place. And you actually don't have to crash ever again.